While I was working at a shelter for abused and neglected kids, I met a little boy by the name of Jose. Jose was a happy boy that loved puppies and Thomas the train. Staff members got to know Jose pretty well over the several months that he lived in the shelter, until he was returned to the care of his mother. It was several more months after that when we were informed that Jose had been beaten and thrown against a wall by his mother's friend. Jose died as a result of the trauma to his little body. We hear stories like Jose's all the time in the news. Children being left alone in cars for hours while the parents run into a store. Children being left home alone with no food, water, or electricity. We also hear of the more serious stories of children being locked in closets for years and some even being treated as though they are an animal. These stories are sad and all come from people failing to protect the children. The dictionary definition of to protect is defined as to keep someone or something from being lost or stolen, to cover or shield from exposure or injury, damage, or destruction. Naturally, we want to protect what we value most. As adults, we have lots of things we want to protect, but the most important should be that of protecting children. Dr. Seuss, author of many children's books, stated in the book, Horton Hears a Who, a person's a person no matter how small. Children, although small, are people too and should be treated as such. Every child has the basic human right to be safe and protected. Child abuse and neglect threaten a child's safety by placing them at risk of physical and emotional injuries and sometimes even death. Child abuse and neglect occurs in all cultural, ethnic, occupational, and religious groups. According to the Department of Child Welfare, in 2013, almost 3 million children were reported to have been hurt or abused in some form. That's a lot of children not being protected. Child abuse occurs when someone who is in the position of trust or control threatens or causes physical or emotional harm to a child. This harm may be in the form of neglect, physical, emotional, and/or sexual abuse. Each of these can be and are serious threats to children. According to Child Help, in 2012, there were 1,640 children who died from maltreatment. That's an average of 4 children dying each day because they were not protected. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services reported a shocking 70% of those deaths being children under the age of 4 years. Protecting children is not just protecting your own children, although that's a good start, but should include all children we come in contact with. Sister Margaret S. Livereth, member of the Primary General Presidency, said, "We know that nothing can replace a righteous family in the life of a child. But in today's world, children will need not only a devoted mother and father, but they will need each of us to protect and teach and love them. This makes it each of our responsibility as adults to step up and protect children." Children, like all humans, have needs. However, children have more complex needs than adults. This often requires adults to meet the needs of the children because a child cannot do it themselves. Those needs include physical, social, mental, and emotional. When those needs are not met, the child will not feel protected. Elder Dallin H. Oaks said, "I cannot speak for the welfare of children without implications for the choices being made by citizens. We are all under the Savior's command to love and care for each other, and especially for the weak and defenseless. Children are highly vulnerable. They have little or no power to protect or provide for themselves, and little influence on so much that is vital to their well-being. Children need others to speak for them, and they need decision-makers who put their well-being ahead of selfish adult interests. Child welfare professionals are working at full capacity to protect our nation's children. But it is clear that the problem is too great and too important to be delegated entirely to just those workers. Anyone who suspects a child is being abused or witnesses a child being abused is to report the abuse to the proper authorities. The National Child Abuse Hotline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is there to assist when needed. President Thomas S. Monson has said, "The Church does not condone such heinous and vile conduct. Rather, we condemn in the harshest of terms such treatment of God's precious children. Let the child be rescued, nurtured, loved, and healed. let the offender be brought to justice, to accountability for his actions. When you know of such conduct and fail to take action to eradicate it, we become part of the problem. We share part of the guilt. I challenge you to step up and protect children everywhere by speaking up for them. We need to be more aware of and educate ourselves on what to look for. Listen to what children have to say. Be involved in the community. Know your neighbors. We need to support families, both our own and those around us. As we do these things, we can try and prevent abuse and neglect before it occurs. All children deserve an equal opportunity to experience healthy growth and development. When child abuse and neglect interferes with that opportunity, we put our future at risk. These small, precious children are the future. Elder Dallin H. Oakes said, "None should resist the plea that we unite to increase our concern for the welfare and future of our children, the rising generation." The future prosperity of any community depends on its ability to foster the health and well-being of the next generation. When a community invests wisely in children and families, the next generation will pay that back through a lifetime of productivity and social responsibility. They, the children, need us to make an effort to help them. Every child has a right to be protected, and they need us to shoulder that responsibility. Whatever role you have in their lives, let that be the role of stepping in and protecting them as necessary. We may not be able to save every child, but we need to try.